Guys, what we're going to be covering today, we're going to be looking at two aspects, LinkedIn as well as CV writing. And when we look at these two areas, even though these are two different platforms, one is digital and one is something that you do and you submit like a document, the principles are the same. They don't change too much. So what I'm going to do is for the first part, I'm going to touch upon an area which is uh, personal branding, because before you do your CV up or before you even think about getting your LinkedIn profile up and running, it's so important to know what your personal brand and how do you purposefully build your personal brand as well. So that's really important. We'll talk about that for the first part of today's talk discussion. And for the second part, we're going to be looking at how to get your ideal CV and LinkedIn profile done properly. I'm not going to do it in a normal way of giving you a format, but I'm going to tell you exactly how can you customize and develop a profile that is very strong, that fits into your unique selling proposition, right? Because when you do up a CV or a LinkedIn profile, what you don't want to happen is you don't want to have the same CV as everybody else, because then you lose your differentiation. You want to be unique. You want to be singled out. You want to be known for your unique profile. And that's what I'm going to be taking you all through today. So let's start off. So this is a question that I have for everyone in the audience. You know, how many of you would like to get the job of your dreams, to have a very rich profile, and to be in control of your career? Now, I'm sure without a shadow of a doubt, many of y'all, if not all, will say yes to all these three elements. You would like to have all these three things because it really helps you get the job that you're out looking for, right? So I think my profile was already shared with you, so I'm not going to go through this again. But I wanted to ask you all this. And for those of y'all who are currently in the audience, I would like you all to participate in this right now. When you see the Mercedes-Benz logo, what comes into your mind? Sabesh, Rukshika, Timothy, Hansini, what comes into your mind when you see the Mercedes logo?
Prestige.
Prestige, great, yes. What else? What else comes to your mind? Rukshika, what comes into your mind? Or Sabesh?
Well, for me personally, whenever I see the logo, it's just the vehicles. The branding is done in a way where first thing that comes to my mind is vehicles and maybe even race cars or
Okay,
supercars.
okay. Sure, okay. So a supercar, right? Something that's prestigious, luxurious, it's a supercar. Great. So when you see the logo Toyota, what does that stand for? What comes into your mind in terms of attributes? What comes into your mind?
Budget friendly.
Budget friendly, yeah. So you're thinking about economy there, yeah. What else? Okay, you're thinking about things like reliability, economy, stuff like that, right? So when you see Tesla, what comes into your mind when you see the logo Tesla? Sabesh, what comes into your mind when you see Tesla?
Eco-friendly.
Eco-friendly, yeah. What else? Timothy? Or Rukshika? Or yeah, go ahead.
Modern technology.
Or technology, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, super. So guys, when you look at these three different logos, there are three different value propositions that each of these logos have. Typically, Mercedes means luxury, prestige, you know, comfort, that sort of thing. Toyota, when you look at the Toyota logo, you think about economy, reliability, durability, and stuff like that. And finally, Tesla is innovation, technology, and those are the attributes that go with Tesla. So very three different brands, but over time they've created an image about them in the market, right? It's very striking, and they have created a very solid image about them. Now, very similar to this, every single one of you also have a personal brand, right? Each of you also have a personal brand. Whether you like it or not, whether you admit it or not, people look at you and they form some sort of impression about you. And that is what you call your personal brand. So we have a couple of choices that we make. Either we have to allow society to judge us and form some sort of impression based on what we do subconsciously, or we can purposefully build our brand so that people can see exactly what we stand for, what our values are, what do we want to showcase that we're all about, and that is creating your personal brand. So how do we create a personal brand, right? How do people create an impression about you? Well, they do it through a couple of ways. First is the friends that you keep. They often say you are the average of 5 people you spend the most time with. Let me repeat that. You are the average of 5 people you spend the most time with. So that means people look at you or they look at your friends and they form some sort of impression about you. They think you are like your friends. Like, for example, if you had, say, 5 billionaire friends, right? 5 billionaire friends, I guarantee in a couple of years, you will also become a billionaire. Because why? Because you will learn their lifestyle, you will adapt to how they work, you will learn their habits, and you'll automatically become a billionaire, right? Now, very often what happens is we surround ourselves with people who are like us, who have the same dreams as us, who are following the same things as us. And if you look at it even today, right? You look at the friends around you, your close friends, your inner circle, you will see a very close relationship that they are leading a life very similar to yours, right? Because they are the average of 5 people you spend the most time with. But as we grow as individuals, right, as we transform ourselves, we tend to change our groups as well. Now, for example, if I use my case as an example, right, I had never read a book in my life until the age of 35 or 36. I'd never read a book in my whole life. And this is until I joined a book club, because I knew alone if I wanted to start reading a book, I could never do this myself. But when you join a community of readers, automatically you become a reader because that's all they talk about, right? So last year I read about 36 books for the year, because you surround yourself, you immerse yourself with people who are on that same journey as you. So it's very important, guys, to remember when you're creating your personal brand, look around you. Are these people adding value to your life? Are they getting the best out of you? Or are they toxic and are they dragging you down? Or are they not allowing you to grow? So that is something that you really need to think about. And as they often say, if you are the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room, right? If you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. So find people who are on that same journey as you. If you want to purposefully build your brand, find those people. Because when people look at you and the people that you associate with, they're forming some sort of impression about you, right? So that's the first point. The second point is people look at your activities that you do. How do you spend your time? Do you spend most of your time watching Netflix, or do you spend most of the time at the library? Do you spend most of the time doing sports? They look at all these things and form an impression about you. So when I say you have an opportunity to purposefully build your brand, you can do it by associating yourself with activities that highlights what you're all about, what your brand is all about, right? So be very conscious of even the activities that you do. Now, if you want to be labeled, or if you want to be known as somebody who saves the environment, who is very conscious about littering, you don't like to, disturb the environment, then maybe many of your activities will revolve around saving the planet, beach cleanups and stuff like that, because that is, what activities you take part in. Right? So that's the second point. People look at what you're doing and they form an assessment of what sort of character you have. The third point is your digital footprint. So what does this mean? Every single thing, right, that you publish online on digital media, whether it being Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or TikTok, you have 7 billion people watching you and assessing you and forming some sort of impression about you. So it's really important, guys, to be very conscious of this and understand that people are forming an impression about you by what your activity is on social media. So be very conscious of that. Because what we do is we post jokes, our political affiliation, stuff on religion, we make fun of people, and that's okay within your small circle or your group. But what happens is when you share it or make it public, everyone is watching you and they're thinking you are like this. So my proposition to you is you can purposefully build your brand so that you are creating uh, an image of what you want to be seen on social media, right? Now, we had one intern once who joined us, right? This person said, I really love to save the environment. I want to save animals and all these different things. But there was a picture of this person throwing a polythene bag on their Facebook out of the window. So it didn't match. So even a lot of companies nowadays, before hiring anybody, what they do is they check your social media, because at an interview, you only have 20 minutes to speak to someone, right? You can't really gauge what they're like. But when they check your social media and they understand, what's going on, um, what sort of person you are, what are things you like, what do you post, then they decide whether you are a cultural fit into their company. So it's really important to understand um, your digital footprint is looked by many people, especially if you make it public. People are watching you and they're forming an impression about you. Right? So be very conscious of that. Now, even a lot of countries like the US, in order to get your visa, they are doing a check on your social media to see whether what sort of character you have. So be very careful and conscious of what you post on social media, because people are forming an impression about you, right? So if you want to purposefully build your brand, post things that are in line with your values, with what you stand for, and then you can't go wrong, right? So that's the third point I wanted to share with you. The fourth point is how you look, your appearance, right? So when I was growing up, if you had long hair, you were associated with a rock band, that you like rock music. If you wore baggy trousers, you were more affiliated to R&B and rap music, right? So you need to understand what your appearance is like and what sort of impression they're forming about you as well. Like, for example, if you go in for an interview and you're wearing a suit and a tie and, very formal, but you're going into a Google or an IT company that's very liberal, then they will think this person doesn't fit into our culture because this person is too formal. But what if you wear a t-shirt and jeans and go for an interview in a government department? They may not like it because they're looking for someone a little more formal. So you have to understand what your personal brand is, what you really are, and how you look depicts who you are as well, right? So you can either purposefully build it or let people judge you for whatever they see, right? So that's the fourth point. And finally, they will judge you on your attitude. Are you someone who's nice to people? Are you someone who's very positive? Are you someone who, is very helpful? They will judge you based on that also, and they'll form an impression about you. Like, for example, suppose you walk into an office for your first interview, and there are two people sitting at the reception. One is very grumpy and shouting and, complaining and grumbling. But the other person is saying, good morning, hello, how are you? And very courteous to everybody. Now, who are you going to ask for directions? Now, I am guessing I'll take a big bet that you will ask the person who's nice, who's approachable, right? Because of their attitude. So make sure that your attitude again depicts your character, who you are. Because if you portray yourself as someone who is approachable, people will approach you. So that's really important, guys. So I wanted you to understand this first before I went into the CV writing and LinkedIn, because understand you are a brand. Like any product or service, you have your own personal brand. And people are watching you, they're looking at you, and they're forming an impression about you. But my proposition to all of y'all is, what you'll need to do is build a brand that you want people to see. What is the authentic you? What do you want to showcase to the world that you're all about? And that is really important, guys. You need to understand this first before you do your CV. Because if you don't understand this, when you do your CV, it'll be just like everybody else's. There won't be any difference. There won't be any unique selling proposition, right? So be very sure to understand who are you? What am I all about? What do I want the world to see? And then you can make a great profile. You will have a good interview and everything else will fall into place. Are we okay so far, guys? Sabesh, Timothy, Rukshika, are we okay? Can I keep moving on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, super. Guys, I'm just going to turn my screen off, my camera on, just to save some bandwidth so that the video doesn't go. I'll turn it on in a bit. Okay. So like I said, guys, purposefully build your brand. Who are you? What do you want people to know you for? And what are you going to do to get there? Right? So if you all have any time to do this activity, just write down. Think about what do you want people to think about you? What is your personal brand? And then the next step is I want you to think what are you going to do to get there? What are you going to do to get there? Right? So that's really important, guys. Okay. So next, guys, I'm going to share with you how to get your CV done and your LinkedIn profile done, right? That's really important. Now, this is the thing, right, guys? This is something that I want you all to take into consideration. The same principles apply, whether it's your CV or whether it is your LinkedIn profile. The principles are the same. However, the way you put your information might differ, right? And I'll explain it going along. But before that, I want to share a small story with you. So very recently, about a year ago, I went into a university. And at this university, there I went for a career day and I was doing mock interviews. And there were so many students that came in, right? So many students came in. So when the students came in, I started interviewing them and they had really nice CVs, very eye-catching, very nice CV formats. I liked the first one. Second one came in, still same format, but it was really nice. I liked it. Third one came in, same format. Fourth one came in, same format. 10th one came, same format. So what I did next is I was like, listen, something's going on. I'm going to have a small chat with the head of department. So I got up, I went to the head of department and said, listen, sir, hi, sir. Can you tell me, did anybody come and conduct any training programs for your students recently? They're like, yeah, we called someone from the industry. They came in and conducted a training program on CV writing, right? On CV writing. And I said, okay, what did they show? They came back, they came and showed us a really great format. I'm like, okay, this is a problem. The format's amazing. The format is great. But unfortunately, everybody has the same format. So I don't see any individuality. I don't see any originality in anyone's CV because everyone looks the same. And believe it or not, guys, even today, whenever I get CVs coming in, and I've interviewed like tens of thousands of people, I can tell you exactly which university, which department of CVs are coming from by just looking at the CV format, right? By just looking at a CV format, I can tell you exactly which department, which university that CV comes from. So what I'm going to do next is, guys, I'm going to share another screen where I'm going to show you a typical CV. Okay, so this is the format I'm going to share with you, right? And this is the CV of this lady called Janice, and she's applying for a position as a marketing manager, right? So I'm just going to go through the whole CV from top to bottom, right? I'm going to look at the CV from top to bottom, and I'm going to take you through this. Now, do you think it is good to have a picture, yes or no? What are your thoughts?
We should have.
We should have, okay. Well, okay, good. Thank you for that. What else, guys? Any other thoughts? Do you need it? Yes or no?
Even I feel like yes, we need a good picture.
Okay, super. Okay, guys. So this is the thing, right? When it comes to your CV, there's no right or wrong. It depends on the brand that you are trying to portray. Now, LinkedIn, I think it's important to have a picture anyway, because, you know, you need to put a picture there. They ask for it. But understand, every piece of information you put on your CV or LinkedIn, you're doing it for a reason. You have to do it because there is a purpose of doing it, right? Now, in some countries, right, like in Europe, they say don't put a picture because we don't want to have any bias. We don't want to have any discrimination. We are not allowed to put a picture. But in other countries, it's up to you. So you have to decide first thing whether you want to put a picture or not. So why should you put a picture? Well, maybe because you want to showcase your personal brand. What sort of person you are. Now, this picture for this particular position might not be appropriate for the position of marketing manager. But if this person was applying for drama school, maybe it's quite apt. Maybe it is applicable. It depends on the context, guys. So for example, if you're putting a picture and you're applying to a bank or a government institution or somewhere that's very formal, then maybe a picture of you in a t-shirt won't fly. It won't be taken well. But if you're applying to a company like Google or the IT industry, then if you put a picture with you in a suit and a tie and a business suit, they may think you're too serious or you don't fit into their culture. So when you're putting a picture, guys, think about this, right? Your CV especially is your one document that will help you get the job of your dreams, right? It's the first document that will help you get the job of your dreams. So when you do your CV, remember, it's like doing a proposal to a company that you have a product that you want to sell to a company, right? So when you send your CV, guys, if you're putting a picture, make sure that picture, one thing, it's professional, but it fits into the culture of the company that you are applying for as well. Say you're applying for, job of a software engineer at an IT company, then maybe they're not looking for someone who's very bureaucratic, someone who's wearing a coat and a tie and who looks very strict. They're looking for someone who's a little more laid back. So understanding that will mean put a CV that's appropriate, that showcases who you are. Now in LinkedIn, for example, you have to put a picture. For that, my recommendation is put a picture that depicts the person you are, your personality, what you're all about, right? That should be there, right? So if you decide to put a picture, make sure you're putting it for a purpose. Now the next point I wanted to share with you, where many people make a mistake on LinkedIn as well as CVs, is their name. Now, as Sri Lankans, we have many names. Because we have many abbreviations, we have many names. We can be A, B, C, D, Pereira, or whatever. Or Janish, Amatage, Malinga Pereira, whatever. We have so many names. But my recommendation is only put a first name and a second name. Don't have so many initials. And why am I saying this? Is because when you send your CV in, to HR, and you email your CV to HR, they will punch in your names into their database. So they will put their first name and the last name. Now, suppose you have put about 3 or 4 names into your CV. There is a chance that they would have put in the wrong name, thinking that's your first name or your last name. So what happens then is suppose you're calling HR to check on your CV, to check on your application, to see whether you're going to be called for the next level interview or whatever. When you call them, they're like, okay, what's your name? You give them your name, and when they check the database, they're like, sorry, we don't have you in our database. Why? Because maybe you've given a couple of names and they put the wrong name into the database. Now, these are very small little details, but remember, guys, when it comes to your CV and when it comes to getting the job of your dreams, you can't leave any little detail to chance. You can't leave any little detail. So even your name, you need to get it right. Every single thing on a CV, you need to get it right. Even on LinkedIn, this is applicable, guys. First name, last name. You might have other names. You can submit that to HR later, but for the sake of convenience, put first name and second name. Okay, important. Next is, right, your address, your phone number, your qualifications. Now, when it comes to your mobile number, right, guys, my recommendation is please put 2 numbers down. Maybe your mobile number, maybe your home number, maybe another mobile number. Because this is the reason, right? When companies call you for interviews, right, they will try the number that you've given. And most of the time, 90% of the time, it is your mobile number. So they will call your mobile, right? Now, what happens is sometimes you're in a class or you can't answer your phone or you're in the bus and you are not reachable, right? And they call you, nobody answers. That's fine. It happens sometimes. But then what happens is you call back. So when you call back onto the general line, it goes to the reception and you're going to be like, listen, I've got a call from this number. I got a missed call from this number. Do you know who called me? And because it's gone to the general number, the receptionist has no idea who has called you, right? So your application gets lost there in transition at that point itself. So when I say put 2 numbers, make sure that there's a backup because you're doubling your your contingency, right? Give another number so that somebody else can answer that phone and take a message in case you don't answer the first number. Because if you don't do that, you're losing a very valuable opportunity. And I'll tell you from my experience, so many good candidates have lost getting a job because they haven't done a simple thing of putting the right number in, or they've only put one number, and for whatever reason, they were not contactable at that time. Right? So that is important. The next is your email address. Also very important, guys. Now, we tend to provide email addresses from the time that we were in school. Like this person has written johnnyGirlRules@hotmail.com. Then we have other ones like muscleguy@gmail.com and stuff like that. Make sure it is professional. First point is make sure it's professional. Second point is make sure that it's very easy to remember and very easy to write down. So don't have, say, your name is Janice Armitage @hotmail.com. Don't write the whole thing at hotmail.com. Because you know why? Again, when HR is sending you a calendar note to invite you for a meeting, they have to type this in. And if they miss a single letter, you don't get that email, you don't get called for that interview, and you never know, you don't get that interview that you're looking for. HR thinks they've invited you, you haven't turned up for that call, and they think you're not interested. Again, a very small thing, but don't leave anything to chance. Make sure it's a very simple email address that you give, right? For example, you can give Rukshika97@hotmail.com. Easy to remember. You can't make a big mistake. But when you give long email addresses, there are chances that you can make mistakes. HR can make a mistake. So you want to make their job as easy as possible. So that's the first part, guys. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to keep moving on, guys. So next is career objective and mission. So do you need to have this? Well, I think it would be okay to have this, right? But this is the thing, right, guys? Make sure it's short and make sure it summarizes everything that you have done. 1 sentence, 2 sentences maximum. Don't make it longer than that because no one's going to read it. I know in the past when you submit your CV, you give a cover letter and a cover page and all that. But in reality, guys, right, nobody really reads that. So make it short, make it very concise, and make it summarizing everything that you've done, right? Now, the next rule of thumb that you have to remember, this is more relevant for a CV than LinkedIn. You have to remember, guys, put the most important, the most vital information on top of your CV, right? That is very important. The most vital, the most important information right on top of your CV. Because when an interviewer or when someone from the HR recruitment team looks at their CV, right, they're going to look at the first page first. And only if they like what's on the first page, will they go to the next page, right? Because if not, right, they will not even go to the next page. So it's like this, right? Now, if you are fresh out of university, or if you have a career day and you have all these people coming to your university for career day, chances are the most important thing is not your degree, because everyone has the same degree, right? We're coming to informatics because, you know, all of you all have got the same degree, all of you have graduated. We're not going to even ask you about your degree. So what else is important? Well, maybe your internship experience, maybe the projects that you worked on, those are important, right? Because that is your differentiator. That is the most important thing you have, because anyway, everyone has the same degree. Why do you want to show it right on top? It's for given, right? When I come for career day, you all have the same degree, right? So put what's the most important thing right on top. Now, for example, if you're an academic, if you're applying for a job in a university as a lecturer, then the most important thing for you is your academic studies, you know, your degrees and your qualifications, because that is what they ask for. But if you're applying for a job in, you know, as a manager, right, or, you know, at a senior level, the most important thing for them is experience. So that will come right on top. So the rule of thumb, guys, is the most important bits of information, put it right on top of your CV, right? You have to put that right on top of your CV. The most important information that you want to showcase to your prospective employer has to come right on top. And then you keep going down. So if you look at this person's academic qualification, now this person has put their academic qualifications right on top. What is wrong with this, guys? Take a look at this and tell me, what would you change if you had a choice? Okay, so let me just tell you a couple of things, right? One thing, obviously, it's not in chronological order, it's all over the place. You have to make sure that everything is according to some order. And when you do your CV as well, guys, make sure, right? Make sure that you have consistency throughout your CV. That means having the same bullet points, having the same font, highlighting things consistently, because these are the small details that your employer is looking at. They are looking to see whether you have spent enough of time to make this a professional document or not. And it's the small things they're looking at, because what they think is, if you are not bothered to look at, small things like getting the same bullet points, of small typos, of getting the wrong fonts, if you don't have that amount of detail when it comes to your CV, what's it going to be like when you come and work for them? Will it be the same? So this document, guys, is the one single ticket that's going to get you the job of your dreams. So you don't want to leave a mistake, even when it comes to the formatting, the fonts, or anything like that. You have to take that responsibility. If you're not sure, give it to somebody else to look at it. Give it to a professional even to look at it. It's a worthwhile investment, because getting a good CV will help you getting the job of your dreams, right? So if you look at this part, right, the sequence of qualifications is probably not correct. And when it comes to your O levels and A levels, guys, remember, your CV is a marketing document. It is not only an information document, it is a marketing document. So when I say marketing document, it is used to market yourself. So for example, if you've got, straight A's for A levels and straight A's for, O levels, by all means put your grades, because, you've done well. You want to showcase that you are a very good student. If you want a dean's list at university or got a GPA of 3.9 and you want to showcase it, by all means put it. It's up to you. But if you've not got such good grades or got average grades for whatever reason, then maybe you don't want to put those grades. Like this person has got accounting C, business studies C, economics S. Well, that doesn't really sell, right? So maybe you just want to say, I've got my GCE A levels. And at the interview, they might ask you for your grades and you can explain why you've got these grades. But the first task you have in mind is first get into the interview. And that is by submitting your CV and making sure your CV gets selected. So remember, guys, put what will get marketed. Remember, you are a product or a service. You are trying to send your proposal to a prospective employer and hoping that they will select you. So remember, guys, right? Remember, make sure that you put what is marketable, right? You don't have to put all the information. The first priority for you is to get selected for that interview. You can't exaggerate, but you need to know what information that you need to showcase and what information you can leave out for the time being, right? And you don't have to put like information like index numbers and stuff like that. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Ideally, guys, your CV should not be more than 2 pages long. I know even CEOs who've been working for 15 years, they have CVs that are not more than 2 pages long. So I don't see any reason why we need to have our CVs any longer than that, right? So that's the first page. Are we okay so far, guys? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay, cool. So the next, guys, I want to share with you is work experience. So this is something I commonly see wrong on LinkedIn. How many of you all have LinkedIn profiles, guys? Can you all raise your virtual hands if you all have LinkedIn profiles? Right? So, okay. Rukshi, okay, you all have LinkedIn profiles. Now, 90% of LinkedIn profiles I look at, guys, has information like this. The company that you work for, what was your position at the company, and number of years that you worked in that company. And that is it. And so many people are wondering why they're not called for interviews. Well, that's not enough, guys, right? Now, even in a CV, this information is not enough, right? You need to highlight what your responsibilities are as a first point. As an assistant manager in marketing, what are you currently doing? What are your main responsibilities? You don't have to put everything. Put 5 or 6 responsibilities, which are your main responsibilities that you have to oversee, right? Now, even in LinkedIn, I don't see that. 90% of all profiles that I look at has only the year, the designation, and the company. That's it. I don't see responsibilities. Make sure you have 5 or 6 responsibilities there. That will give you a good CV. But if you want a great CV, guys, you need to go one step further than that. More than the responsibilities, you need to also add your accomplishments, right? Your accomplishments. What have you accomplished while you were doing this particular job? Now, for example, right now I'm an HR, say I'm an HR executive, right? Hypothetically speaking, my responsibilities are I have to make sure the payroll goes out in time. I have to make sure people are trained. I have to make sure that employees are happy. Now, as an HR executive, any company, that is the responsibilities. There's no change in that. But where I will add value to my profile is by showing what were my achievements. I can say I helped the company achieve absenteeism at 2%. I was able to reduce attrition to 9%. I was able to ensure that 100% of my workforce was trained. Those are accomplishments. Now, if you showcase your accomplishments, companies will think, oh, wow, this person has done so much. If I hire this person, maybe they can do the same thing for my company. And that adds more value, guys. But I don't see this in 90% of people's LinkedIn profiles. I don't see this. I just see these basic details. So remember, guys, when you're putting your experience, make sure you add responsibilities, and not too many, but 5 or 6 main responsibilities, and you supplement it with 5 or 6 achievements that you have done. Now, you all are at university right now, right? So maybe you all are going to be doing internships. So while you're putting 5 responsibilities that were given to you as an intern, also put 5 achievements that you've done while doing your internship. That will really help you secure employment. And it's not rocket science, guys. You do this and you get a job. But 90% of the people out there are not doing this. You'll be surprised they're not doing this. They are just putting this basic information and thinking they will get selected. Well, it doesn't work like that, guys. Now, when I go into universities, many students say I can't get jobs outside. When I go to companies are saying I can't find people to fill into my jobs. So obviously there's a gap, right? And it's very easy to fill that gap. But for some reason, the gap is not getting filled. And this is so many easy things that you need to do to fill that gap, which I'm not seeing getting done. But believe me, guys, if you can add this more information into your CV and into your LinkedIn profile, I guarantee that people will take notice of this information and it'll be more useful to you as well. So just keep this in mind, guys. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So the next thing I also find very common in CVs and even on LinkedIn profiles is when people put strengths. And even at interviews, right? They say, you ask someone, what are your strengths? I'm a team player. I have strong analytical skills. I have leadership abilities, creativity. I'm a good communicator. And they mention all these things. But you know what? Words don't mean anything unless you can back it up. So rather than putting these strengths like this, I would rather have examples of you doing these things. So rather than saying team player, I would like to say I was a member of the school, badminton team, or I was a member of this society, or I was a member of Rotaract. So that shows that you are playing a part, in a team. And I know you are a team player. It's very obvious. Now, rather than saying you have strong analytical skills, I would like to see where did you use these analytical skills? Where did you use these analytical skills? That is what I want to see. Rather than saying you have leadership abilities, I want to see where did you play leadership roles? Were you heading a project? Were you a prefect in school? Where did you show that you have leadership abilities? Right? So remember, these examples are so important rather than just putting strengths, because strengths don't mean anything if you can't back it up. They don't mean anything if you can't back it up. So even on LinkedIn, guys, if you're mentioning certain strengths, make sure that people are endorsing those strengths, and make sure that you're providing good examples so that people will believe you. Because if not, they won't believe you. Like if you look at this CV, right? Now this person says they are a team player, but when I'm looking at the sports that they have played in school or the extracurricular activities, they have represented the school in chess. Now chess is a very individual sport, right? It's not a team sport. They've taken part in the Colombo Marathon. You run alone. You don't run as part of a team. So I don't see really where they play the role of a team player. I have my doubts here. So remember, rather than putting strengths, you should showcase areas that highlight these strengths, right? That is really important, guys. So some of you all may not have these areas right now. Maybe you all didn't have time to play sports at university. Maybe you didn't have time to develop these skills, but you all do have time, guys, because many companies hire on attitude more than skill. They want to make sure that you have the right soft skills, interpersonal skills, the attitude. Can you work together as a team? They are looking for those attributes even more than your technical skill. So if you haven't these already, it's not too late on developing it. Because you know what? People's CVs, get better as time goes on. Even if I look at my CV, it keeps growing every year when you add new skills and strengths. So my proposition to all of you all is keep building, guys, right? If you think, okay, if I want to grow, I need to have really good interpersonal skills. That's okay. Maybe I don't have it right now, but maybe I can join a Gavel club or Toastmasters club to improve that, right? Because that's what we're looking for as companies, to know that you know your weakness and you know you're doing something to get better in that weakness. Now, a couple of months ago, this guy came in for an interview and I asked him, what is your strength and what is your weakness? And I really loved the answer when they said, when they answered to what is your weakness. So this person said, my weakness is my communication skills aren't great. And by the way, the person was speaking to me, I knew it wasn't great. But this person said, my communication skill is not great, but I have joined a Gavel club and I have been reading books to improve my communication. It's not good right now, but I'm working to get better at it. And to me, I found that as amazing, because somebody recognized what they're weak in. We have so many people, they can't recognize their weakness. This person recognized their weakness and they knew exactly that they need to develop on that weakness. So I knew if I take this person to my company, they are self-motivated to overcome any challenges that they may face, because that they have that attitude to do so. So those things are really important, guys. So start developing on this so that it adds value to your CV, rather than just putting things like strengths, analytical skills, creativity. It doesn't add any value unless you can back it up with real experiences, right? So remember that on LinkedIn, guys, as well, right? Now, the next part I want to share with you is references. So what do you all think, guys? Do you think it's good to put references, or it's not good to put references? What is your point of view?
It's better to put references.
Okay, great point. So it's like this, guys, right? Ideally, if you have a good reference, by all means put it. But remember, it has to be relevant as well. Now, for most of the students that I get CVs from, the references are the principal of that university or that school and the head of department. 2 references. It's almost that they put it for the sake of putting a reference. But what I told you from the beginning, everything you do has to be done with a purpose. So even when you're putting a reference, make sure you're putting a reference for a purpose. Now, if you are sending your CV to a Virtusa, for example, or an IT company, make sure that you have 2 good references from the IT industry who can vouch for you. Because Sri Lanka is a very small place. Everybody knows each other. If you put a personality that people are familiar with, chances are they can reach out to that person and they can find out who, what type of person you are, rather than just putting random people or the same people for every single job that you apply for. Ideally, you should not have the same references for every CV that you send out if you're sending it for different industries. Everything has to be done for a purpose. It's like sending a proposal out to a customer, right? Now, if I'm applying to the manufacturing industry for apparel, like Maas Holdings or MAS Holdings, right? I want to make sure that my references are in the apparel industry and people that are known, so that if there's anything, they can call and find out about me through these people because they are known in the industry anyway, rather than just putting random people or references. Now, you might think this is a bit of work, right? What if I don't have those references? Well, you need to get those references. Find people. If you really want to join a particular industry or particular company, find people in those companies. Get to know them. Build relationships with them. Now, when I say build relationships, I mean it has to be organic, right? You can't just add someone on LinkedIn and the next day tell them, listen, can I send you my CV? It doesn't work like that. Friendships and relationships don't work like that. You have to start nurturing these relationships. Join clubs like Rotaract, or try to find societies where you can find people who can be your references. Even if you add someone on LinkedIn, build a relationship with them, right? So that they are comfortable enough and you're comfortable enough to send them your CV when you're applying for a job, or even to put them as a reference. To be very clear, guys, if you are putting a reference, that's great. Put it by all means, but put it with a purpose, and put it for, if you're applying to a particular industry, put it so that those personalities are known, so that they won't have any hesitation in calling. Like, for example, if I'm applying to say Hydromanis, right, in the government in the garment industry. Now, if I have Mahesh Amalin and Ashraf Foma from Brandix on my CV, there's no doubt that it'll hold some weight, right? Because they're very known in the apparel industry. So remember, guys, have good referees, send referees with a purpose to make sure, right? To make sure that you're leveraging upon your referees to the best of their ability, right? So make sure you put that, provide their phone numbers, ask them first, provide their phone numbers, provide their email addresses, so that they are accessible as well. And tell them in advance that they have been used as references. That's really important, guys. Does that make sense, guys, so far?
Yes, you do.
Okay. And guys, when it comes to LinkedIn, right, one thing that's so important I want to tell all of you all is, people can write recommendations about you. That is so important, because when people vouch for you and they talk about you and they write about you, those are testimonials of people who have worked with you or know you, or they will verify your character. So try and get people who can give you those testimonials. Now, as we work today in the digital, in the digital world. Now, if we want to go to a hotel somewhere, we make a booking on booking.com or hotels.com or something, right? We check the hotel based on the reviews people have given, right? Their comments, their testimonials. We like the hotel, we like the accommodation, we like the location. Similar to that, people are looking at your profile when they go to your LinkedIn profile. They're looking at how many people have endorsed your skill and how many people have written about your character, about how they worked with you. So make sure, guys, that is also filled. Get people to vouch for you and write something about you. Not anybody, but people who have worked with you, who can give you a good recommendation. That's so important, guys. And like I said before, I've gone through so many LinkedIn profiles. Very few of them only have done this. You have to add that as well, right? So I'm just going to quickly go through my LinkedIn profile just to show you what I mean, right? Now, when you do your LinkedIn profile, just here, right, where I'm going to have my mouse, you don't have to always have your designation here. You can have your purpose or statement that showcases who you are. Now, for me, my purpose statement is inspiring change and building human potential. So that is my statement that I put here, right? So that I put here. Profile, make sure it's professional, that it is something that you want people to see. Your cover is also important. For me, in particular, I put my purpose statement here so that everyone knows what I stand for. Now, as you go down, okay, so this is about me. So this is a quick summary of who I am. And here we go into the important part with experience, right? So experience is like this, right? You put your experience down in point form, put, what your responsibilities are. Now for me, this is a new role, so I don't have many accomplishments as yet. But if I show you another one, like here you can see there are responsibilities and accomplishments. What am I supposed to be doing and what have I achieved, right? So that people know if I joined a company, I can help them bring these things into their company as well, right? So these are accomplishments. I've supplemented it with pictures as well, so that people can see, what these activities are, so that if they want any supporting material, it's available. So this is what I have for my different jobs. But like I said before, what I see normally when I look at anybody's LinkedIn profile, I only see this part, the designation, the years, and the company, and they forget everything else. So make sure, guys, you add this other information as well. It's really important. What were your accomplishments and what were your responsibilities? Next is you can add all your qualifications. You can do it in chronological order here. At the bottom here, you have your endorsement. So people are endorsing you for your skills. Make sure that you have people endorsing you for all the different skills that you have, right? So that's under endorsement. So these are all the different skills that people have endorsed me for. And below that, you have the different recommendations. So this is really important, guys. This is where you can request people to write a small review about you, right? And what happens is normally when even recruiters check your LinkedIn profile, they will want to see what other people saying about you. Who are these people, right? And what are they saying about you? And that is how they will judge your character as well. So make sure you you get people to write some sort of recommendations about you as well. That's also really important, guys. So if you can do these little parts, guys, I guarantee people will look at your LinkedIn profile. But like I said, many people don't get called because of a LinkedIn profiles because it's so basic, guys. It can't be basic. You have to be on your profile every single day, updating the new stuff that you've done. Because it's a living document, right? You have to share, post, whatever things you like. You have to interact, go into communities. If you're in IT, there's so many groups within LinkedIn. You have to create a brand for yourself so people know who you are. If you can do that, guys, I guarantee you'll get the job of your dreams. But unfortunately, like I mentioned before, many people don't do that. Many people don't invest in getting that sort of information out. So it's not rocket science, guys. It's simple, but you need to invest in this to get called for an interview or the job of your dreams. So just to recap, guys, these are the rules I want to go through with you one more time. The two most important events in your career are when you send your CV in and your interview. Don't get it wrong. Don't get your CV wrong. It has to be 2 pages, right? It's not about the format. It's about what's in it. What is so different between your CV and somebody else's CV? That is so important, right? Remember that. It is a marketing document with information. It's not an information document that you're looking to market. It is a marketing document with information. Like any product or service, you are selling your profile to another person or another company who wants to buy it, yes or no. It should not be more than 2 pages long. Please pay attention to detail. You can't let anything go wrong in your CV. Even a typo, people will look at your CV and think this person doesn't have attention to detail. If you're not sure, let someone else look at it. Get professional help, even that's okay. But you can't get this wrong, guys. And keep it professional. Keep it professional. Remember, guys, it's not about the format. It's about what goes in your CV. You get that right, I guarantee you'll get the job of your dreams, no doubt. But you have to get this right. There are certain things in your CV which might be missing right now. You might not have certain skills. But like I said, it's a living document. As you go on, you have to keep accumulating this and building on your CV every single day. You don't have a CV today and forget about it. Every single day, you learn something new and you potentially could add to your CV. So please remember that, guys. So that's my 1 hour with you all, guys. I hope that made sense. I hope I answered some of your questions as well. Thank you for your time. And I hope that added some value into your life.